Be sure to check out my Veve and Omi investors group in the description down below. Together we build generational wealth and go over everything you need to be profitable in the Veve markets. Yo, what's going on, y'all? I'm Cavell Anderson, and we are back with another Veve and Ecomi video. And here we're going to be looking at the full clip that was spoken about Veve, and this is actually the Wax CEO. I thought this was the Quid CEO because Quid is the one where I heard about this from. I saw them talking about, oh, the Quid CEO is about to be on here and stuff like that. So I thought that that's who this was, but this is actually the Wax guy. Now, I know a lot of people always say, yo, don't even give them attention and things like this. This company knows what they're doing. The reason that they're mentioning Veve's name and trying to spread the narrative that they're trying to spread is because they're going to get attention from speaking about Veve. So trying to pretend like they don't exist, it's not a great move. The fact of the matter is Veve has influencers and you have voices who can actually, what's happening is they're saying things so they can try to control the narrative of what Veve's NFTs actually are. They're trying to control the narrative. That's what he's trying to do right now. He's trying to control the narrative and spread what he wants to get around. The thing about having influencers and having people who actually know the facts is that us as influencers, we can actually spread the truth of what's going on and why this guy's just a liar who's trying to say whatever he needs to say to get his company some attention. And it looks bad on his part. It looks very bad on his part. But yeah, so this is why the influencers speak about things like this, because pretending like it doesn't exist is not the way to go. Even if this was an actual competitor to Veve, which it is not, he's not a competitor. Like I still have yet to see a competitor. Everyone talks about Recur and all these other projects. I have yet to see a single Veve competitor, and that's truly understanding the entire project of Veve. I have not seen a competitor yet. When I see one, I'll be the first to say, yo, this is a competitor, this is dangerous. But there are no competitors as it stands. Just because something has license and IP does not make it a competitor. I mean, Quid has a lot of licenses and a lot of IP. Doesn't make it a Veve competitor. So that being said, this is why it's important to not let FUD run rampant, especially when it's coming from a CEO of a bigger company, because people will believe that. People will trust his word and take him at his word, when the guy should just be exposed for someone who's lying, who's a liar, and he's willing to do this just to try to see his business succeed. Like, this is sad, and this is what people need to know, that this is going on. So let's jump into the full details of what he said, and let's really talk about some of the information that's going on here. So yeah, that being said, man, hopefully you all enjoy the video. Be sure to drop that thumbs up, subscribe, turn on notifications to stay updated with everything going on, and let's dive into what's actually being said here.
It's the reason today there is not a single app that has an NFT on the Apple ecosystem, on the Apple App Store. There are people who have been misled by companies. I think Disney misled companies. If they might not even have understood what was going on. Disney does not have an NFT. Some people think they bought NFTs on the Veve app. They have not. They bought virtual items. I say that because you can't trade that for money. You can't trade that off the Veve app.
So I covered this in my last video, but basically the points that he's bringing up, you can't trade, being able to trade and things like that, that's not what makes something an NFT. Basically, if there's a historical log of it on a cryptocurrency blockchain, that's what makes something an NFT, which Veve, every single one of their NFTs has that. Now, this is a conversation about ownership. Do you actually own your NFT is the point that I feel he's trying to make. But what he's actually saying is that Veve's NFTs are not NFTs, which they are. So his argument is essentially stupid. What would have been a better argument to go for is, yeah, Veve has NFTs, but do you actually own those NFTs? And is there a new platform that could come out that can give you ownership of your NFTs before Veve is able to give you ownership? That's a much better conversation to actually be having. And it's more factually accurate, because that's an interesting question. Now, Veve has already come out and been transparent in saying the companies aren't too certain about giving certain freedoms. The companies aren't 100% certain about giving certain freedoms. So there's going to be some companies who does allow them to be taken off of Veve, and there's going to be some who may not. A lot of the smaller artists and things like that, they're more willing to let theirs go off of the app. They're going to do whatever it takes for their pieces to be successful, get in the most hands and things like that. So those companies are. But the thing is, I think people are too focused on the technology. And I think that people are focused on the technology because we're so early into the NFT space. It's like people are so focused on, oh, is it a real NFT? Is it a real? The point of NFTs is to have digital ownership. That's really what this is about. Whether it's called an NFT, whether you can do this with it or do that with it, the goal of this is all about ownership. Yeah, transferring it to your wallet, having your IDs and things like that, that makes you feel like you own this tangible. I have this now. And yes, it gives you that feeling. But the fact of the matter is that stuff is going to come. But Veve was designed to be simple, to be something that anyone could just jump into, to be something to lead mass adoption. So they didn't focus too heavily on what crypto people care most about. They focused heavily on what the world cares most about. And this is why Veve has seen the results that they've seen. Every other company took the crypto route. And yeah, they've seen some success. A lot of money is coming through and stuff like that. But nothing is doing what Veve has been able to do. And the reason why is because Veve did the smart thing and made this consumer friendly. Because yes, all the crypto people care so much about ownership. But keep in mind, the people that are going to make your assets go up in value, the people that's going to be making this project successful, they don't care about ownership like you do. So this is what's going to make you money. The fact that mass adoption, people are not going to actually care about ownership. Like they're going to own them, but that's really only a small part of it. The NFT aspect of this is just a small part, but people will sometimes get lost in understanding that, because the fact of the matter is, it's the NFT aspect is the only thing Veve has to offer right now. They have not created the metaverse. They have not created, they have not done everything else that they've promised that they were going to do. So right now we have 10% of the Veve business model, and now you have companies trying to come out and take advantage of the fact that we're so early on in the blueprint for this company that you can make false claims, and people who don't really understand the project, who didn't really do enough research, some people will fall for it. Some people will fall for the stuff that's being said. And this is why it is very, very important to educate yourself on what is actually going on here, because everything that you see as a con, everything that you see as a bad thing, there's a reason behind these things. And if you put in enough time and research into understanding why these things are happening, like people say, oh, the price of the Omi token hasn't moved. And people say that as if they've made such a strong case, like, oh, the Omi token hasn't moved. But the second someone says that, they should lose all credibility if you know what's going on, because it's like, you expected the Omi token to move? That just tells you where your level's at right now. If you were expecting it to move with no exchanges, no liquidity, whales are not going to invest in a token where they can't get their money back out of it. So you actually expect billionaires and multimillionaires and stuff to come in here throwing a ton of money in when they have no way of getting it out. Yeah, there's going to be some to do it, but these Ethereum whales and things like that, they're not jumping into the Omi token. And this is the type of stuff that you need to understand. But I know that everyone doesn't have access to these whales and these millionaires and billionaires and stuff like that. So you may not know this information, but it's important to try to reach out to people who do know this information, people who do have contact with these people, so you can understand how whales think. And then it'll all make sense to you. Like all of this, everything has an explanation if you just take the time to hear it out and listen to it. But anyway, let's jump back into it. Let's finish up seeing what he has to say here.
It's trapped in the Veve app. And I think they do a very poor job of actually highlighting that to users, because I know people who went on and said, oh, I've got this Disney NFT. I'm going to go, trade it on OpenSea and make some great money. And I'm like, no, you're not.
It's trapped in the Veve app. So that's what he's doing. He's trying to spin a narrative that is trapped in the Veve app, and they don't highlight it. But they also are highlighting that this is early on, this is in development, and basically what's going on right now is Veve is a beta app. And I really don't believe that they should have removed the beta tag from it. I think that them making it like the official released version, it is causing a lot of issues, because people don't understand that we're still early in the development. Now, in the grand scheme of things, a lot of this stuff doesn't matter. Amazon started where it started at, and people don't remember all the hiccups that came early on. Like in the early Amazon life cycle, you don't think that they had problems. You don't think that cash out probably didn't work at some point, or or there was issues. There's always issues with anything at the beginning. But the thing is, as you become more polished, as as everything gets released and everything works, people only remember you for the things that you do well, and they don't remember the past things where you messed up at. We're just going to be a small piece of people, early investors, who actually remember what Veve was like at the beginning. We're going to be a minority. It's 3 million people on the Veve app right now, and by the time there's 15, 20 million people, we're going to be, what we've been through is going to be history. So that's the part that people don't share. Like, basically what he's complaining about is things that's made NFTs legit and made NFTs what they are historically. What Veve is doing is not something that's happened in the NFT historically. What Veve is doing is moving towards the future, moving away from the NFT history and moving towards the future of mass adoption, having something that every single person in the world can hold and can invest in without even knowing that they're making an investment, without even knowing exactly what's going on. Veve is making NFTs, getting NFTs mass adopted. And this is something that none of these other NFT projects have been able to do. You have to be into NFTs. You have to be into crypto to benefit from all these other projects. With Veve, you don't. And this is why companies like this, these old school companies who's doing everything the old way, trying to make everything super complicated. This is like, you know how Apple came out with the first PC and it was just so simple to use. Like you click an app, it opened up on a desktop. Like, you remember like the early, like the documentary, the Steve Jobs movie and stuff like that, if you haven't seen that. Remember how Apple changed the game from using those little keyboards and stuff where you had to damn near write code to use a computer? This is what Veve is doing to the NFT space right now, and this is why competition is feeling like this. Competition, they wanted to stick to the coding and things like that to have to use the PC. But Veve's like, no, we're gonna innovate, we're gonna make this friendly for everybody. Veve is taking the Apple approach to the NFT space. That it's really that plain and simple. So all this stuff, this is gonna tug on the heartstrings of people who are trapped in the right now NFT mindset, but things change and things progress. Veve is progress. And this is why they have the licenses and partnerships that they have for NFTs. That's why they have these NFT contracts, which these other companies do not.
People who went on and said, oh, I've got this Disney NFT. I'm going to go, trade it on OpenSea and make some great money. And I'm like, no, you're not. Because Apple doesn't allow that. Apple does not allow virtual items to leave the Apple ecosystem. So I don't want to support that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So good point. It brings up a topic though with the integration of Ecomi.
By the way, Ecomi has a website coming on because of Apple's restriction and some of the restrictions of the partners that they're working with. They have a web version in development. That's a big focus for them because yes, these apps do have certain rules and things like that, but it doesn't change the fact that all of the stuff that he claims, basically what he did is take a list of the things that's been undone from Veve, and he's trying to present it as the fact is this stuff has not happened and it's not going to happen, when in reality, he's going to be discredited, but by that time he already has people's attention after he's been discredited. So he's doing this for attention right now. That's plain and simple. He's lied already, but he's continuing to do this for attention.
The plugin to Veve that is pending, that could essentially at least give the value proposition for a Veve digital item holder, being able to trade that and be able to do an exchange into an Omi token. Wouldn't that enable the offboarding of those assets? Sure. Okay.
Look at his face. You could tell, like you can see what he's doing right now. Look at his face. Whatever Paul was going to say, whatever Paul said, he was going to say something negative after what these, like you could tell he was just waiting for him to get it out so he could down it, whatever it was.
Okay.
Of course.
I mean, it's going to live there.
As soon as head transplants are possible, as soon as we have flying cars, then I will love them. But you can't do that now. Right. You are buying a virtual item. There was a...
So he's saying you can't do it now. But he's making the same argument that you can't do anything at the beginning of a company being built, especially when it has never been done before. Because not only has Wax never done what Veve is doing right now, No company in the history of the world has ever done what Veve is doing right now. So criticizing things that can't be done yet because no one has ever invented this in the history of humanity, I mean, that it kind of makes you look dumb, to be fair. It makes you look bad. It makes you look very, very out of touch with what's really going on. Now, this would have been different if he came on here, educated, really understanding what's going on, and he had real criticisms. But right now, he's just trying to tug on everyone's insecurities when it comes down to Veve, and he's trying to pound it home that Veve is not going to deliver what they say that they're going to deliver, when all Veve has done since they came out is deliver. Not on time, but they have delivered.
Company ahead of its time, I would say, called Quid, Q-U-I-D-D, that had virtual items that you could buy within the Apple app. And they licensed probably 100 different companies, brands, Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel characters, and you could trade these things back and forth, but not for money. And you could never leave the app. And they failed. They raised venture money. They failed because people weren't interested in that. Right. Now, when you say you're going to do an NFT drop, but it's identical to what Quid was doing 6-7 years ago, I think that's misleading. Yeah. And so
he's trying to say what Veve is doing is identical to what Quid has done, but in reality, it's not. It's not identical in any way, shape, or form. These are NFTs. The companies understand that they're NFTs, and Disney's lawyers, they're thousands of lawyers understand that these are NFTs, as well as the United States government. You can't sign into all these contracts for NFTs and then deliver something that's not an NFT. And also, just because Quid had some type of deal or had some type of restrictions when it came down to working with Apple years ago, they don't know the inner workings of what's going on with Veve, how Veve is getting past these problems and things like that. And I feel like what this company is trying to do, outside of just stealing some of the customers and stuff from Veve, I feel like they're trying to get information. They know Veve is going where it's going to go, but they're probably trying to figure out how Veve got past some of these problems that companies have struggled with in the past. What is it that has made them be able to do what they're doing, become this successful, and actually have true NFTs and be the first and only company doing it at this caliber and at this scale? Like, these companies, I feel are prying for information because Veve has been playing their cards so close to the chest, especially as of lately.
Ecomi's plan was to allow people to go into this app and get an NFT and then go take it out of that ecosystem and trade it on some Ethereum marketplace. Right. I say that's great, but get Apple's permission. And Apple has not granted it yet.
And they don't need Apple to grant their permission for activities that's going to be happening on the desktop version of Veve. They're not going to be doing this stuff through the App Store. They don't have to do this through the Apple App Store. That's why they have the desktop version in progress. So what he's saying is that what he's getting on here is saying is he's using everything, all the information that Veve has put out themselves of things that are incomplete and not yet finished, and he's trying to make it seem as though Veve's hiding this or people don't know this. Like, no, if you don't know these things, you haven't done your due diligence.
So to answer your question, the day Apple says all virtual items on Apple apps.
And look, you notice how he's trying to make this about Apple. Apple has no control over Veve. Just like these items are on the Apple App Store, they're also on the Google Google App Store, the Android App Store. So by his logic, could they not be on the Android App Store as well? Like, they can't be on the desktop version. He's trying to tie Veve so heavily to Apple, not realizing it doesn't make sense already because it's also on Android. And then a desktop version already exists. You can go on the desktop version right now. So he's trying so hard to make it seem like Veve is going to be tied to Apple's restrictions when that doesn't make sense currently.
Day Apple says all virtual items on Apple apps in all of the biggest apps. Keep in mind, apps, video game apps are the biggest category of apps from a money standpoint, right? So when Apple says we're going to relax our business model and allow you to now freely take those things out of the Apple ecosystem and do what you want with them, then we will be the first in line to make an app. But until they actually do that, I don't want to mislead consumers into thinking.
Yeah, see how he's saying, like, see how he's trying to make it seem like he's above misleading consumers, because all based around Apple, when this really does not really make sense. He does not have an argument here. He doesn't have a leg to stand on, because he's making it seem like Veve is an app completely tied to Apple, when that's just one of the many platforms that Veve exists on. Like that's all Apple is. Apple is one of the many platforms Veve exists on. No certain rules. You can't do certain things on Apple, but that's why you work around that and you have your own things going on. This is why Veve is constantly in talks with Apple. This is why Veve is constantly in talks with the licensors and things like that to get this stuff handled. They want to figure out how Veve is handling this stuff. And honestly, it's not rocket science. Like the desktop version has been talked about for the longest. It's like he clearly just has no idea what he's talking about.
Thinking they're buying something that they're not buying.
Yeah, for sure. I think that clarifies a lot of scenarios that people are looking at right now, because there are some gray areas that are kind of surfacing now, mainly because we are seeing a little bit of adoption pick up in a variety of projects, including the Veve app, along with what's happening there. We're going to see some more projects that start to evolve.
And honestly, Paul did a great job being professional throughout this interview. And Paul is really not the one to speak on the nuances of the BS coming out this man's mouth right now. Paul covers a lot of different things on his channel, and yeah, like he's not the one to combat the foolishness coming out of this guy's mouth. And to be fair, this guy would probably never appear on someone's channel who can combat the foolishness that he's speaking about right now. This is why he went to Paul Barron's network, because Paul is just another guy who talks about NFTs. So yeah, I mean, it's going to look like this. I don't put any blame on Paul for allowing him to come through and say the ridiculous things that he's saying right now, making these claims. It's just, yeah.
Into that area as well. When you think about the metaverse and the connectivity that's going to be required, and I guess this is my question, with the fact that we do have walled gardens, let's just use Apple, Google, and Facebook.
That's
Meta.
a good term.
Okay. Walled gardens in there that they have been pretty much in control of their ecosystem since.
So basically what's going to happen is you're going to have people making their own platforms, their own web. Like look at the rate Veve is growing at. Veve is growing at this rate, and they're not marketing, they're not advertising or doing anything. So imagine what happens if they create their own platform, their own web app, their own way to get the Veve platform to consumers. Then Veve can simply do what they want to do. It does not change the fact that these are real NFTs. It does not change the fact that these are on the Ethereum blockchain. It does not, like, basically everything that he said, simply put, was a lie. And yeah, there are some great points and questions and concerns that's been brought up here, but none of this stuff is stuff that's new. This is all stuff that we, the community, have been asking and wanting clarification on for the longest. And this is why we have all these answers. This is why we know, like, this is why soon is a meme, because some things they just can't speak about and can't explain and stuff like that. And this is why. As you can see, he's been studying Veve, he's been watching Veve, and he's been looking closely at ways to try to bring them down, or try to bring them down. And just as much as he's tried to bring Veve down in this interview, he also wants to use this information to try to bring his own platform up. So this is the stuff that Veve has to look out for, and this is why they have to be careful what they say. So I feel like as fans of the platform and as people who actually see the vision and understand, you have to give Veve a little bit of freeway, because these are the type of people that's going to be attacking Veve moving forward, because Veve is making a lot of noise. They're doing too much. They're doing too much, and inferior companies are going to get scared and going to get very, very nervous because of what Veve is being able to do. So yeah, that being said, let me know what you all think in the comment section down below. I just wanted to fully cover all of this in full detail and context, and just share my thoughts with you all. Let me know your thoughts. Be sure to drop that thumbs up, subscribe, turn on notifications so you stay updated with everything going on. And yeah, I will catch you all in the next one. Peace out, y'all.